Alrighty, so meal prep for the week. So we're going to go through some tips here in regards to things to kind of plan for appropriately, and then also just some ideas on things that you can even purchase to maybe make it a little bit easier, some recipes as well, and kind of go from there. So hopefully with the holidays and hustle and bustle, this might be helpful for you. So why is meal prepping so helpful? So outside of the holidays and outside when there is hustle and bustle, by meal prepping or kind of looking ahead and doing some things to get your meals prepared ahead of time, it can reduce stress. You can oftentimes incorporate healthier options because there is opportunities for more portion control if that is appropriate, or also, you're just kind of incorporating all of the things that we have talked about so many different times in these presentations regarding more veggies, regarding more omegas, whatever it may be. And you kind of can have those already prepared, which can make it easier. Also, by planning a little bit more, you're also potentially going to be saving some money, less waste, less things you forget about that get hid back in the back of the refrigerator that maybe you had leftovers for. So it allows for that. Also, we'll talk about some other reasons as to why it can definitely save you some money. And then, of course, the ultimate thing any time of year, I feel like for anyone. And, this is also super helpful for patients that are undergoing treatment too. It's saving time. When you're busy going back and forth for appointments, then this allows for those times when you're busy or maybe not feeling too great, that you can also have some things in the freezer or just prepared ahead of time that can be good and nourishing for you. So steps to meal prep. So these are just kind of the steps that we kind of are going to go through here. So you want to determine what are the best methods for you in regards to prep. What are the things that are the most challenging? And sometimes it's a matter of starting small. So we'll talk about some things in there. You do want to make a plan. You do want to take stock and shop. So it's a matter of and what that kind of means is assessing what you've got at home and then also shopping appropriately, but efficiently. So we'll discuss those things. You want to prep in store, and then you want to enjoy the fruits and vegetables of your labor. So these are the kind of the easiest steps, and eventually, you get to the point where some of these may intermingle, but ultimately, this is where you want to start. So determining the best methods for you. So is it make ahead meals? Is it batch cooking or freezing? Is it individually portioned meals? Is it ready to cook ingredients? So kind of going through that, make ahead meals. This could be things like soups and casseroles and different things. Maybe you make on a Sunday or whatever day of the week that tends to work better for you. And you make, that amount at one time, and then it can be portioned out. So some of these kind of intermingle here. So this allows for you, maybe you have little time during the week. And so making ahead does make a big difference. All you have to do if you're busy is just warm things up. Batch cooking and freezing. So this could be like maybe potentially you make double or triple of a particular food or casserole, or also soups are great things to freeze, whatever it may be. And you freeze the things so that maybe you have some that particular night, but then you're freezing some extra down the road. This can also be for like cooking chicken breasts, for example. It takes just as much time to cook 4 chicken breasts as it does to cook 2 chicken breasts. So thinking about those different ways, and also thinking about the different methods that you like to prepare. Are we speaking of roasting vegetables? Are we speaking of using the air fryer so that you're cooking things and then all you have to do is warm things up? It just kind of depends, but making a little extra and then potentially freezing so that when you have a busy night during the week, all you got to do is thaw it out and warm it up and you're good to go. So which is great. Individually portioned meals. These are things where you could potentially use like mason jars. There's a lot of salads, or there's also overnight oats or like chia puddings or different things like that. So you make, maybe breakfast for the week, or you make lunch for the week, or whatever it might be is maybe a challenging meal. And so that is something that you can use or bring into play. And then the ready to cook ingredients. So if you're somebody that likes to eat things fresh, you're not so much into warming things up or eating things multiple days in a row potentially, or whatever it might be, then maybe it's a matter of getting, checking out recipes, and you're preparing, things to where all you have to do is kind of dump. So it's kind of like your own home version of a home chef. So it's already portioned out for you, or like those different meal things that get delivered to your home. So that's kind of the idea. So you chop up all your peppers, you chop up your onions, you're filling them, you're doing, whatever ahead of time that might make things a little bit easier for you. So cooking, also cooking rice, cooking quinoa, having those sorts of things ahead of time is really helpful so that you don't have to spend that extra 15, 20 minutes, doing all of the prep, and also thinking of not only the prep, but then there's all the dishes, and everything. So if you're having to do that every night, that is a time that does require extra time. So making a plan. So you want to choose your meals that you want to prep. So it's you want to take a look at when times are stressful. Is it the evening meals that's super stressful? Is it getting out the door in the mornings that's super stressful? Is it that you have minimal time for lunch at work, or even at home? So it's finding those different times that like this is going to be a struggle for me. So maybe I'm just going to start with one of those meals. Some people really get into this and they'll do breakfast and dinner and do all the prep for that. So I'm of the essence that I think it's always best to start small. So pick one of those meals that, you're struggling with the most or have the most time to do, or maybe it's like I said, during treatment and you're just really fatigued. So dinner just doesn't happen. I have a lot of patients, and sometimes especially wives or even husbands for that matter, that, are, struggling to pick up where the other isn't able to make up for. So by doing, certain meals or the ahead of time, that can be helpful during those times. You want to write out a menu. So again, you kind of choose which meals you want to prep, but then you want to write out a menu. And I think what's important to consider in this is another area that you can save money, is to check out your local deals, maybe at different grocery stores. I know we don't have a lot of time to be looking at every single grocery store, but maybe it's just your particular grocery store that you always are going to, and maybe they're having deals on certain vegetables or certain fruits or frozen chicken, or this week, last week, my grocery store was, if you spend $100, then you got a free turkey. So I know a turkey is a significant amount, but it's like there could be opportunities where then maybe you use turkey in other meals. So checking out the different deals is important, but you do want to also, when you're starting meal prep, you want to focus on the tried and true meals. You want to focus on the things that you're confident in doing and preparing ahead of time. And then maybe as you challenge yourself, you bring in one or two different meals to see how they work with making a large amount or doing something, just starting with one and adding on. You also want to schedule your prep. You don't want the prep time to be also stressful. We're trying to reduce stress here. So thinking about when you're going to do some of this prep. Is it, you usually have some downtime, on Sundays in the afternoons. And so taking, whatever period of time, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's even just 30 minutes, and you kind of pick what parts you're going to prep ahead of time. That can be good. So I also maybe encourage, if there is the opportunity, to get a buddy to help you out. 4 hands are always better than 2 hands. So, the more we can kind of tag team this particular area, then everyone gets to reap the rewards of this time commitment. So incorporating that can be good. So, and maybe there's opportunities that you kind of do half and half. Sundays we're going to make this meal, and then on Wednesdays we're going to make this meal. Whatever that looks like for you, but just kind of sit down and kind of assess, and maybe speak with whoever's living with you and whoever might be helping as to how you can work together to make that work. So the meal plan is also, when you are planning your meals, one thing that we always want to kind of think about is the plate method. We've talked about this before. So when you're planning your meals, you want to have your protein, your carbohydrate, and your fruits and vegetables. So I kind of noted just vegetables here, but maybe your fruit on the side as well. But trying to make a good part of whatever you're making. So this could be a soup. This can be a salad. This can be just kind of a one pot meal idea, but where's your protein at? Chicken, ground turkey, maybe some salmon, whatever that may be. But remember, from a good cancer fighting standpoint, chicken, turkey, fish are always what we're aiming for as far as animal-based products. But then even like your protein can also be beans if you're looking at vegan options. So incorporating those can be good. Chickpeas, lentils, whatever it might be is great. And then carbohydrates, doing good ones that are rich in fiber is going to be helpful. Quinoa is also a great source of protein as well. So I do like quinoa a lot, and I think it warms again, or rewarms really well. I've also talked about quinoa in the versatility of it. It is, there are recipes out there that are Mexican dishes, Italian dishes, all kinds, salads, whatever it may be, and quinoa can be a nice, easy plant-based addition to getting a little bit of extra protein. Rice, there isn't a whole lot of nutritional value in rice. Some of your brown rice is a bit better, but it's not, as great as quinoa or even sweet potatoes, so roasting sweet potatoes can also be something super easy, and incorporating into the meals can be good. And then as well, your vegetables, roasting them is excellent. There are make ahead salads where, you kind of do in the mason jars and different things. And then all you have to add is the dressing. So, but peppers, carrots, zucchini, whatever it may be, but thinking about kind of your plate method a little bit when you're doing this meal prep. How can we incorporate all those components? Or, it's just a matter of maybe there's just one component that I am trying to prep ahead of time. So maybe it's not the entire meal, but whatever kind of component that is, you want to kind of make sure that it is incorporating all of these parts of what's important for your diet. So take stock and shop. Excuse me. I wish my pantry looked like this. This is a goal for sure. But we want to stock up on staples. So you always want to make sure before you're going to the grocery store or before you're considering meals that maybe you assess what you have already on hand. You might, again, this is another part of the money saving component, that we're not just looking at a recipe and then going and buying what we need for that recipe when maybe we've already got it stocked up as far as spices. But keeping things that are staples for a lot of your meals, a lot of things that you like. So different spices, maybe you tend to lean more towards Mexican dishes, you lean towards Italian dishes. So as far as spices go, some of my ones that I use very often, cumin, chili powder, garlic, of course, but even your fresh garlic is going to be great. Keeping those sorts of things around are very, very helpful. And then as far as other, again, the rice, quinoa, even chia seeds, we'll talk a little bit about those in another recipe, but, our chia seeds are great in omegas. And again, the rice, quinoa, and chia seeds, those are all things that can just stay on your shelf and be good. Broths, when we're thinking of soups, and then maybe even keeping like frozen meats or different things that you can kind of keep. And that's part of going back and assessing those deals. Maybe there's good meat deals that you can keep things frozen so that when you need them, you've already got them stocked at your house. You want to make sure after you've assessed what you have at your house and then you're thinking about your meals, you want to then build a shopping list. It's always helpful. And there are so many templates out there that you can use. But organizing your shopping list, this is going to make it more efficient. Having a shopping list, you're not going to forget things, waste more time going back to the grocery store, and then you're not going to get things that you don't even need. So again, this is part of the money saving and time saving component. So I always encourage kind of organizing by department. So, all of our grocery stores, you walk in, depending on which way you go, it's going to start with produce typically, and then you're going to wrap around and there's going to be your meat department and potentially your dairy department, and then you have your frozen options. So we always encourage, as much as we can, staying out of those middle aisles. That's where the processed items can be. But at least if you kind of think about the flow of your grocery store, you're going to save some time and money from that standpoint. And then you do want to take stock and even potentially consider shopping for, some containers, getting whether it's mason jars, whether it's freezer bags, containers with your sections that can make it easy and nice. And I'll show you some pictures of some ones that I really like, but these are things that you do want to keep on hand. And of course, we're always encouraging the glass containers, going to be nicer when you're rewarming back up if you can, and then reusable. So you're saving, ultimately saving money there too. So when we do have that opportunity. So prep and store. So there, after you've been to the grocery store, now we're talking about the prep. So make the most of your time. You want to, set ahead of time as you're getting started, get that oven set. If you're going to be roasting some vegetables or doing something, get the water started to boil, assess your recipes for similarities. Maybe that's part of your meal planning as well as your, how I'm going to make double or triple of quinoa because I have 2 different recipes that can use quinoa. Just an example, or maybe there's different beans or different things like that that are important. Maybe onions are in 2 different recipes. So you're doing some extra prep. So kind of really laying those out and where you can save yourself some time. Be mindful of storage life, roughly your onions and peppers, if you're chopping them up, 2 to 3 days in the refrigerator. Carrots, can be a little bit longer, some of your other vegetables as well. Lettuce and greens, the washed and dried can be in the refrigerator for up to 7 days. And then foods containing meat, ideally you want to make sure that you're consuming within 4 days and make sure that you're reheating to 165 degrees. And this is just where we're trying to prevent any foodborne illnesses or any bacteria or anything like that, which is important. And then we also want to make sure that we're freezing properly for best quality soups, casseroles, even some of your grains. You want to ensure that it cools kind of to room temperature within a couple hours. So thinking about the types of containers that you're using too, we can get those really deep containers and then it takes forever for it to cool. And that's where after, there's kind of a 4-hour window here and there's kind of a danger zone of temperatures. And it's kind of that 40 degrees to 140 degrees. That's where bacteria can kind of breed. So we don't want to exceed that 2 hours too much or even the 4 hours. So if you're putting into a container, you want to leave some space for freezing and kind of that expanding. And then knowing foods that are frozen, 3 to 6 months in the freezer. So we do want to make sure that you're considering dating them of when it was prepared to just remind you when you did it, because if you're like me, again, things just get to the back of whether it's the refrigerator or in the freezer and time will pass so long. And so I forget when I've made it. And then, what I want to make sure is that I am, whether it's for my family or for anyone I care about, that it is safe. And so that's really what we're focusing on. So then after you've done all of that, you want to enjoy the fruits and vegetables of your flavor. So as you're kind of prepping that, putting it in the containers, doing all of those different things, then you finally get to enjoy it all. So, thinking about when the best time to use it. Other things that are really nice, sometimes when you have things frozen, I know sometimes people like to make meals for other people. And if you've already got it, then again, you're saving time. So not maybe you and your family might not just enjoy it, but then other people can enjoy it too. It's like really nice. So here are just kind of some recipe ideas that I kind of put together. You can search these particular recipes and you can adjust them however you prefer. But hopefully I'm just kind of sparking some ideas here. So overnight oats and like overnight chia puddings, these are really nice that you can put in like mason jars and kind of stack them in the fridge. So if you're thinking about, if you do have a family, this is something easy that makes in the morning super easy to get out the door and can be consumed at home, or maybe not if you're driving, but if you're on your way somewhere and you can eat it in the car, which can be nice. Pumpkin overnight oats, I'm going kind of seasonal here. That is another option, but there's so many different recipes out for overnight oats, which can be good. And then even prior to serving or as you open it up, you can add some walnuts, again, some extra omega-3s. Maybe some ground flaxseed, whatever that looks like, and can be good. Apple cinnamon chia pudding, fantastic. Note with chia puddings, you can also, make them vegan. They don't, the moisture doesn't always have to be, animal-based or milk. It could be, or you can do almond milk, you can do oat milk, whatever that looks like. You can vary some of those recipes if you're looking. Another idea is sheet pan eggs with spinach and ham, or potentially like egg bites, like using a muffin tin, and that can be another opportunity where you're making ahead. So thinking about this particular option is you're getting the protein, like you can add veggies to it, you can do different things as you're making some of these egg dishes, but you have your protein. So that can be lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever, but quickly can be warmed up. And then you can add extra vegetables on the side. Maybe you have a salad with it. Maybe just a piece of toast or something like that you're bringing in that's just quick and easy, but you're getting a lot of nutrients in those and some good protein. Maple roasted chicken thighs with sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts. This is a roasted meal. So this is something that's all on the sheet pan, roasted in the oven, and allows for those flavors. So roasting is a really, really awesome thing. I do feel like there is some opportunity for the air fryer to kind of take over roasting. Sometimes roasting takes a little more time. So the air fryer is another nice way that you can get some good crispiness. So thinking about that in some of these recipes. Chili lime chicken bowls. Again, this is kind of a Mexican or a quinoa enchilada bake. These are things that, you can kind of assemble all together and they warm up really nicely. And you've got the meal in one dish, I think, which is helpful too, when we're thinking about rewarming things. The quinoa enchilada bake is a big hit at my house. And there's opportunities that you can do that with meat, without meat, adding more beans. It can definitely be, there's a lot of varieties in those particular. So these are just some ideas. There's so many recipes out there. If you were to look at meal prep, there's even, websites that kind of do the week for you. But like I said, I always encourage starting by adding one or two new things to that. And then also thinking about how, like when you're making extra batch, like using chicken, how many different ways can I incorporate chicken? Thinking about those particular options, or if you're doing overnight oats, maybe you do two or three different flavors, depending on how much volume you might need. So incorporating those ideas. So ideas for containers, I think what's nice, these are just a couple things you can find online. What I love about these like snap ones is there's so many different sizes, which I think is fantastic. And then again, you're not having to transfer the food to another dish to warm it up. They do clean very nicely. They store nicely. So these are a significant investment and would highly, highly recommend them. For some of your colder items, these kind of more metal options, I would caution metal for some patients. Sometimes patients undergoing chemotherapy, there may be some metallic flavors or something that might be difficult. So these might not be appropriate for you during the times as far as storage, because it's very interesting. Patients will say, food stored in different things that it might take on that flavor. It doesn't necessarily for everyone else, but patients tend to notice that just a little bit more. And then mason jars, these are a great, I will store soups in these if I'm going to eat it that week. Again, there can be the salads can be where you just can dump it into a bowl, and then you just add the dressing. There's all kinds of different ways that can be good. I also saw some great recipes for like making ahead your smoothie pack. So all you have to do is put everything together and make a smoothie in the morning. So there's so many amazing ideas for containers out there, and I'm sure that you've all got some great ideas here.